I love these films. I do. I really do. I love this trilogy so much. There's a reason why I have a love affair with Star Wars. I grew up watching these. It's fun. It's more of space fantasy, space western than it is science fiction, truly, and so that adds a little bit of fun. But it's also very much like a 1930s Errol Flynn, film, adventure film. Like, it has all the makings and trappings of a great film. Plus, it's got the just basic story of the hero's journey. It just all fits. It all works. And I gravitate towards space anyways. When a lot of books I read are more science fiction than they are fantasy. A lot more of the games I play that I like are more science fiction related than fantasy related. I just like the idea of being in space and ships and seeing other galaxies or other solar systems and things of that sort. Like, it's really very cool. So, and Star Wars is so much fun. And yeah, I started watching this pretty young. I couldn't tell you when the first couple times I've watched it, because I am forever that I watched these. But sat down. I know we had discussed of the movies that we were going to talk about in this session, and it was like, I definitely need to get Wrath of Khan in because I haven't seen that for a while. And both you and I were like, you know what, we don't need to watch the trilogy beforehand because we've seen enough times. But you know what I did? I still sat down and I watched the trilogy. Laura and I sat down and blew through them and just enjoyed every single one of the original trilogy. We didn't watch the prequels or the sequels. We just watched. And we watched the theatrical editions because the special editions, and I don't want to dive too into that too much, but are trash. And we'll just leave it at that for now. But these films definitely have their flaws, right? I'm not saying these are perfect films, but my goodness, they hold up. Like, I still enjoyed every moment of it. And there's so much joy and nostalgia that still loves every frame of these movies and just get so much joy out of it. So I'll hand it over before I just continue to talk for the next 45 minutes.
I've got a partial disagreement with you.
Okay, good.
You said the films have flaws. I don't disagree with that, but there is one in my opinion that is perfect. And I do think Empire Strikes Back is a perfect movie. I really do. We've said that about Jaws, and there's a couple other movies. Yeah, okay. Empire for me is perfect.
I don't disagree with you on that because it's really good.
I consider it the best sequel ever made.
Yes.
Based on a whole lot of factors. The first movie might even kind of be in some ways perfect for what it was, but my big thing, I first saw Jedi. I don't remember that I saw it, but I did see it in a theater apparently. My dad took me. And I was probably 2. But he said my mouth was just like agape, wide-eyed, watching this. And from then until high school, Jedi was my favorite. And then I saw the only special edition that I think wasn't like ruined, which was Empire. I did see in the re-release in 97. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was 97 when they released them all, yeah.
Yeah. That was the only one that I went back and watched in theaters, and I came out of that going, and I'd seen it a ton, right, on VHS and cable, and that was the one I came out again. I was like, no, I think Empire's my favorite now. Mm-hmm. And that's stayed true since then. So I come to it from a place of like, generationally, I'm kind of in between because I always knew that Vader was Luke's father, and it wasn't the reveal in Empire had no like aha moment, which
I wish
generationally it never would. Like, I would have had to have not seen them till I was 9 or 10, and then watched them in order 4, 5, 6 to have gotten the reveal. That's not what happened. I saw Jedi a bunch at the beginning, loved it, even loved the Ewoks, and that was my favorite. And then after that, maybe Empire, maybe the first one. So I'm kind of in between. I'm envious of like people that are a good 10 years older than me,
who got to experience it in the theaters and go like, oh my goodness, right. And then have to wait 3 years to find out whether or not this is true or not, or if he's lying, all that stuff. Oh yeah. That's huge. So I will. Okay, so it's not that big because I do kind of agree. Like it's a good film, but I do have to do one caveat, buddy. That you say Empire's a perfect film, but it has one of your least favorite lines spoken in a movie of all time. Yes. So like it can't be that perfect. And because you are very vocal about this line.
I'm vocal about that line like you are about that line, I think, in Batman Begins.
Swear to me.
Swear
Batman
to me.
Begins.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that line. Oh,
so,
it's
yeah,
the dumbest line.
I hate the line. You know, if you go out your taunt,
you'll freeze before you get to the first marker. He goes, your tauntaun will die before, or something like that.
You'll freeze before you get to the first marker, and then he yells, "Then I'll see you in hell." And I'm just like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that line. I've never liked that line.
That line so much.
It's just silly to me. It's just like makes no sense at all.
So for me, growing up watching it, obviously I mostly watched these in 4:3. So yes. I have this whole aspect of what it looks like. You know, we got them from TV and it's cropped out. And so I remember the first couple of times I actually watched them in widescreen, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this makes so much more sense. Mm-hmm. Like that's what they're looking at, or that's what they're doing. Like one example is when R2 and 3PO first get down to Tatooine, and like they split, and then 3PO ends up like right by that skeleton that's right there. Well, in the 4:3, you never see the head or the tail. You just see these like what look like bones, but you don't really know what they are. And I was like, what is this? And like, this is just kind of dumb. It's like some like rock formation. And then when I saw it, I went, oh, it's a freaking, skeleton. Oh, that's so cool. And like, this was like high school by the time I saw them in widescreen because.
So I spent way too much money back in the late 90s in high school on eBay. I'm not going to say how much I spent on this box set of the special editions, but they were widescreen. And they were and this is pre-DVD. Like,
yeah,
there was no DVD of the special editions. This was it. And then you had them on Laserdisc.
Well, yes. So a girl at the time I was dating, she and I went in like, cause this was like post DVD. So DVDs had been out. Laserdisc was no longer a thing. And the only really way to get the best quality theatrical editions in widescreen was either VHS or Laserdisc. So we bought a cheap Laserdisc print and we bought those three. Unfortunately, those did not go with me in the split. However, I bought the second release of the Star Wars DVDs. Not the first one that came out, the second one, because the second one it was like an extra disc for each of them or something that had the Laserdisc print on it. And so it was a theatrical edition. So it was DVD with the only problem was that at the time those things were not anamorphic, and so it did not fill the screen like it should have, and it was a pain. But there was ways of digitizing it and putting it up on Plex, and it actually did then make it anamorphic, which was fantastic. But yeah, but I ended up getting the despecialized editions and watch them.
Yeah, the very not legal gray area.
We need to cut that.
Like this, no, because it's there's like the Silver 77.
There's Silver 77. There is the Harmy's despecialized, and then there's one other one that I forget.
Yeah,
so.
I've got a nicer version of the original film that was 5mm film scans. It's got a very unique look to it, and then also despecialized of all three that were more sourced from like Blu-rays.
Yeah,
and then
cut out the different parts or whatever.
Yeah, it's very gray, but I'm hearing Disney has heard us and is going to go ahead and re-release these bad boys.
I always wondered if that was part of the like when Lucas sold Lucasfilm, like he basically said you cannot sell the theatrical editions, and I don't know
if they can sell them, but I think they were planning on a re-release.
Okay. Yeah,
we'll see. But
because the biggest issue I had was not only the Blu-rays the special editions, but they're also the updated special editions. Because I have the Blu-rays, like I have that one big complete saga one. Because I was like, I do want them in Blu-rays, even if they're the special editions. But not only are the original trilogy changed, but the prequel trilogy is also changed. Like he added stuff and changed things from it. And
so my big complaint with the updated special editions, like the last iteration, is the color grade.
Yeah,
It was an attempt to make the color correct the original trilogy to get it into a space that was more like the prequel trilogy, as far as the color saturation and just the way it looks. And it's like, that's okay maybe for Phantom Menace, that was shot on 35, but the other two movies are like shot on just HD cinema cameras, and it's like Anyway, I'm with you. The special edition of A New Hope and Jedi bug me to no end. I can live with Empire since it's just it bugs you, but you don't like the Wampa, right?
Oh, well, I don't like the Wampa because I feel, and rewatching Empire again, I'm going to tell you, the Wampa is so much scarier in the theatrical because you don't see it as much, right?
No, you don't.
When you see the special edition version, it looks like a suit, right? Where it doesn't look like an actual little creature or whatever. It looks terrible. Like he moves like a human, like he's got the eating the meat and then drops it or whatever. No, it is so much one of those Alfred Hitchcock things of it's so much more terrifying that I don't really know what it looks like. I get glimpses here, glimpses there. That's another thing. The 4-3. So it's okay. So I'm gonna dive a little bit. Roll with me here because I'm gonna go a little nerddom here. But it was really funny because in the 4-3 version of Empire, you don't see that it's an arm that gets cut off. You don't see the socket and the hand. You just see this fur. So I just thought he killed him, right? And then I read a book that they go back to Hoth and they have to fight off these Wampas, and they're led by a one-armed Wampa. And I was like, and of course I was able to okay, this is what it was. So did they only cut off his arm? I'm so confused. And then I watched the widescreen version and went, oh, he did only cut off his arm. That does make so much sense. But going out of nerddom a little bit, I mean, we are talking Star Wars, but this, in the special edition, when he cuts off the arm and then he grabs this, the cut off portion and sways back and forth, is just dumb. Just is terrible. That is.
Yeah, I mean,
one of the worst things in the special editions. But
yeah, you're right. I always think more to the opening up of Cloud City, which doesn't really bother me as much.
So here's the thing. I don't hate all the editions of the special editions, right? I don't hate.
Yeah, sure.
In the X-Wing battle and New Hope, I love the added graphics.
Yeah.
How that looks. It feels so much more real, and it feels like a good part, added in.
Feels bigger.
It does. I feel it goes on a little bit long, but when they go into Mos Eisley and you have a little bit more stuff, sure, I can like it some there. And then, in Cloud City and Empire, I don't remember if there's much in Jedi that I really like.
No, because the changes. It's the musical number, which drives me nuts.
Oh, I hate that. But the other thing too about Empire is there's two things. One, I don't like the switch out of, even though it makes sense to me, of changing the Emperor to Ian McDiarmid. One, because they change what he says. And so then they had to re-record James Earl Jones, and his voice doesn't match up. It just is awkward. I even went back and was like, do I really hate this scene that much? And some of it is I watched Empire so much that I know the inflections that the guy who did the Emperor acting.
There's another issue with Empire, you're right, that is problematic.
When Luke jumps off and he screams, man. No, I hate it. I'm like, no, he wouldn't do that.
He was so comfortable in the moment with just letting go, and it in the silence
you ruin the scene. So
it does. It does.
Yeah. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. So I'm very much I will leave it. I would much rather watch the DVD versions of the theatrical editions than, or even pull out my VHS and watch it, because I have three trilogy sets of the Star Wars on VHS. I still have them in a box. I don't have them. I need to put them up, but I literally have the original.
I always just like this box art.
Yes. I have that version.
Not as much the cover art for each movie, but the sleeve on this with the silver and black is cool.
And I think mine is gold because it's the full screen.
It is, yeah. The full screen is gold.
But I have the original that pops up and there's two wings that come out. Yeah, it was, oh my goodness, it was so good. And I think it also came with the behind the scenes from Star Wars to Jedi. I think, I forget exactly what it's called, but there's a behind the scenes. It kind of talks about all the films, but it's very much a behind the scenes for Return of the Jedi, because that's where most of the behind the scenes footage comes from. And it's just really good. It's a really good behind the scenes for it.
Yeah.
And of course, that's where they have Lucas talking about special effects, which he then goes off and doesn't follow his own rule, but he basically says, he goes like, I do all these special effects for the story. He's like, a special effect without a story is boring, you know, or dumb. He's like, you got to have the story. The story comes first and then the special effects, which then, of course, no offense to people who like the prequels, I'm sorry, but like it was much more about the special effects than a lot of times about the story. And
I just wonder, there's so much in the soup of like crafting the original trilogy that changes after.
Mm-hmm.
It actually changes even before Jedi in some respects, because Lucas gets divorced,
mm-hmm.
and she was a was it Marcia?
Yeah, I think so.
She was an editor, very gifted editor, and had like story ideas and would rein him in on some things. And like, I can kind of tell her touch is like out of the
mm-hmm.
picture on some later stuff. And so you don't have the same grouping. And then the fact that he's not even directing Empire is like, I'm not one of these people that is like, oh, George Lucas isn't like a good film director, because I think that's just a ridiculous thing to say. But I think as far as Star Wars goes, he feels like more of the grand vision caster, but then doesn't have the sensibilities of nuance and dialogue, the gift for dialogue that you get in Empire with Irvin. And now Jedi, that's a little bit different. That's more of a, honestly, Lucas should probably have a co-director credit on Jedi, because he took back a lot of power that he relinquished on Empire when he did Jedi. So I don't know.
And so for you, like I still to this day, like I think Empire is the best and I love Empire. I do have a soft spot for Jedi. I do really love it. One, I really love the end battle sequence because it's the only movie where we get capital ship.
Oh,
like battle. And I really love the capital ship.
It's still incredible.
Yeah. And I really like the Lambda shuttle, like the shuttle Hyderian or whatever. Like everything just works. I'm not an apologist. It is definitely the most flawed out of all of them, and also kind of shows when George Lucas got lazy. Like, because we go back to Tatooine. We didn't need to. You know, we go back, we build a second Death Star. We didn't need a second Death Star. You know, like all of we go back to Dagobah. Like all the only new place we go to is
Endor,
the forest moon of Endor, and it's like, oh, and that like, oh, this is like, it could have been so much more. And like Empire's like the only movie in the original, like the 6, that doesn't go to Tatooine, you know, like,
right.
Come on. Like, this is like for Luke saying this is the planet from as farthest from the center of the galaxy. You sure do have a lot going on. That's pretty important. This is kind of frustrating.
Should have called it the Inner Rim.
Yeah, I know. It's just
it was always.
And that's the thing. Like, I understand maybe he like shooting in Tunisia. Like, it's got a very otherworldly feel to it. But I could see Lucas's lazy story beats jumping in that then kind of hounded him throughout the prequels. And that's kind of some of the frustrating parts that I have. Is just like, I really like it because it's got a lot of my favorite parts and it's a very enjoyable film. But I can see where things are changing.
I'll push back a little bit. I do think it's weird that I do find it odd that Yoda would have needed to stay on Dagobah after the events of Empire. That doesn't make as much sense to me. Although narratively it does make sense for Luke and them to have to go back to Tatooine, given that that's where
Jabba was,
and he was sold.
But keep in mind, we don't know any of that because the scene that with Jabba on Tatooine is cut from the theatrical edition.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Like,
it could have.
It makes more sense now because we have a whole backstory of why. Because
the Hutts, where they are.
Well, no, the Hutts are from Nal Hutta. Jabba just made his base on Tatooine.
Okay.
So sorry again, nerd. Read all the things.
If I don't know the things, I just rely on you because I'm not at that level. I love these movies too, but I'm just not at that level.
So fun for me is like I love these movies. I grew up watching them. Had all like tons of toys, all those things, and then probably hit like 11 or 12, and I started to kind of be like, I'm getting out of playing with like Star Wars toys and doing other stuff. So I kind of got rid of a bunch of stuff. And then I think in fifth grade, maybe, a buddy of mine lent me the book Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn, the first book in his Star Wars trilogy. And it just, I mean, we're talking, I'd given this stuff up less than a year before I read this book, and it was like, I've never gone back. Like,
right.
Like, we had donated so much to church, and we went back, and they're like, yeah, we got rid of it all. And my mom was so sad for me, and we're walking through the parking lot. It was a gravel parking lot, and we find the chief Ewok just happened to be in the gravel, just on the ground. He was gray. He looked like it, but he was just sitting there, and we picked him up, and I was like, oh my goodness. And so I still have that chief Ewok. But yeah, so it's but since then, it hasn't wavered. I've just love Star Wars and read a lot of the books, and unfortunately went down that path. And so when the prequels came out, it changed a lot of some of the canon or other things. And then when Disney took over and they got rid of all that kind of frustrated me. But that's the point. But anyways, back to the movies.
Back to the original trilogy. I always loved the appeal of a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Something that happened in the past, and then the gritty, grounded kind of nature. Well, we're not necessarily grounded, but definitely the lived-in, gritty nature of the original trilogy. I mean, they don't lose that aesthetic through 4, 5, and 6. That starts to go away with the prequel trilogy, and that was kind of one of my big gripes. Was it just the universe no longer felt lived in, and it didn't make sense to me. It was like, I understand that he's going for more like of a regal kind of, knights and princesses, kind of queens and stuff. But the world just didn't feel lived in the way it does in these three.
Because even in Tatooine, the clothing, while dusty, didn't look nearly as rough as it does on like Mos Eisley. Now, granted, I don't think they went to Mos Eisley, so they're not in the hive of scum and villainy. But like, it just, things looked a lot more lived in and used, like you said, than even when they tried to make it that in the prequels. And I have other thoughts and feelings on those as well. I
guess there's less of that in Jedi. Jedi feels maybe a little less lived in some.
You do, but
the
like
beginning doesn't. I mean, the beginning on Tatooine is very dirty and bloody, and
but then most of
Cloud
it's
City's got its kind of greasy underbelly
of where the Ugnaughts are. I mean, Jedi is, the only reason you really don't have that is because either you're on the Force planet, Force moon of Endor, or you're in battleships for the most part. And like, so you really only Tatooine or Dagobah is the only two places where you really get to get on the ground. And military discipline's enough that you probably would be cleaning spaces and making sure things worked. But still, the ships look like especially the fighters do look used and scorched a little bit.
X-Wings always felt real, like they felt like they had the same cleanliness as like an F-14 from back in the day on a carrier. Like, it's like, there's some oil leaking here and there.
But it can fly. It'll be good.
Yeah, it'll get the job done. Yeah. But man, go ahead.
No, keep going.
Oh, I'm just struck by, for me, the cinematography and lighting in Empire feels like a couple notches above either film on either side of it.
Well, yeah.
From Dagobah, especially the chamber area of Cloud City, the lighting schemes, the set design with lighting elements built into it. Again, stuff that was kind of established by, I feel like Stanley Kubrick had a huge hand in that with 2001 and stuff. It feels like an evolution of that. And just for my money, Phantom Menace might have the best fight choreography, but for me, my favorite fight is still Luke Vader at the end of Empire.
Cloud City.
It's the environment. It's really what it is. It's not the choreography. It's the environment. And
it still holds up. Like, it's definitely slower than anything in the prequels, but my goodness, it just feels dangerous, having just watched it. I mean, and the scene, especially when they're in the carbon freezing room or whatever, with like the lighted steps and stuff, like, oh, that's just gorgeous. It just looks so good of them fighting in that scene.
It does. And those doors that will slam down in behind Luke, and that tube kind of lights up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing's just super unnerving. And it's because the sound design's so good too with Burt. Ben Burtt's just a genius.
No, Ben Burt, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, just
Ben
a
Burt's
genius.
fantastic. Just genius.
Yeah, that whole sequence is like just so unique. And there's no music through long stretches of that encounter as well.
Which makes it a little bit scarier.
It's not until Vader starts using the Force to pull stuff off the walls and stuff is when the music starts to kick in there.
And then it goes quiet again when he gets onto the walkway, and then it's not until like they actually start battling again. So kind of the peaks and valleys of that encounter are just really unique. So one of the things, I really like A New Hope. I think it's fantastic. It's super enjoyable. Again, I think Empire's the best of them. Really, the most like critically acclaimed movie of them. Like should be critically acclaimed, even not being a Star Wars film, just a film in general. And I think Irvin Kershner's a lot of the reason for it. I'm sad that Spielberg wasn't able to do Jedi, because I really would be curious what that looks like. What does a Return of the Jedi look like with Spielberg at the helm?
Yeah, and I always got mixed signals from both of them on that. And there's not a lot of clarity there. Some of it will be that Lucas didn't, want anybody else to direct from then on out but him, and then there's some of it's Spielberg's declined to do it. So I've never gotten good clarity on whether it was Spielberg saying no or Lucas saying no, or maybe both mutually saying, for the benefit of their friendship, that to not operate in that space together. But
so I'd always read, and this could be wrong, but everything that I've read was that Lucas wanted Spielberg to do it. Spielberg did want to do it, but because Lucas wouldn't do credits at the beginning of his movies, the DGA had problems with that, and so they wouldn't.
Well, he left.
Yeah, so he left the DGA because of that. But because Spielberg wouldn't leave the DGA, he couldn't hire Spielberg to do his movie, and that's why he went with for Jedi. Yeah, and that's why he did Marquand or whatever.
So
that's what I've read and have thought for a while.
Because I do remember that where he did leave. He was briefly in the Directors Guild.
And then he pieced out because
with like American Graffiti and some stuff, and then and THX the feature, and then didn't want to run 2 or 3 minutes of opening credits on his movie like you were forced to.
Yeah, it works though. Like it would change. It would change the movie drastically if you did.
Everybody switched to that too. Like by now, very rarely.
And now it's allowed.
Yeah, you don't. Opening credits are a dinosaur now.
And if you do run credits, they're so like up in the corners, or they're so like either you're doing a very splashy credit thing where it's like drawn or animated, or something like Guy Ritchie where you build it into introducing characters, or you're trying to like fit them in corners or areas where you're not going to draw the eye or take the attention away from the movie or what's happening on screen, just so you can kind of get them in.
Yeah, I think the opening crawl is just a standard bearer kind of in and of itself as a way to establish tone and just the whole opening sound blast Star Wars. And I did kind of appreciate, I've got complaints obviously left, right, and center with Disney with what they've done, but I did appreciate the fact that they tried to hold back the traditional Star Wars opening and crawl for what they just considered actual like canon movies, even though I think they should retcon the sequel trilogy as some sort of alternate EU.
Yeah. So going deep, there is some, like, the fans have figured out a way to make it an alternate universe kind of a thing, or start over with some stuff that happened in Rebels and may happen in the Ahsoka series, all this different stuff. So like there's conversations being had whether or not that actually happens. Some of my biggest faults with the sequel trilogy are how they don't respect kind of the physics of the world that have been established in the movies. Like, not even talking what's been done in the role-playing games or the books or whatever, but like I mean, from not the Force Force Awakens and onward, like it just Han in the first movie in A New Hope says that traveling through light speed is not like Dustin Crop's boy. You know, like if without a precise calculation, you could fly through a supernova or a star or whatever, and then you have him then like turning light speed off in a fractional refresh rate at the last moment so he can like get through a shield. And don't even get me to light speed skipping from stupid Rise of Skywalker that I'll never watch again. Like it's just the lack of respect for some of the things that made the world
it's lack of respect for the whole thing, to be honest. Yeah, no, it's just like it's all a bunch of crap.
You played in this world like this. These are the confines of it, and it makes sense. I mean, there's so many things that talk about of like, even in like real life, like you'd have to, like we have what are called Lagrange points around the Earth, where basically where the gravity in the sun and the gravity of the Earth are equal. And so it's kind of this place that is just super steady. Like you won't, once you're in this area, you're not going to get pulled one way or the other towards the Earth or towards the sun, because it's a quote unquote gravity well, you know, and there's so much science fiction that talks about gravity wells around planets, around suns and all that stuff. So that's why you can't do light speed from inside of a planet, because you got to get out of the gravity, like all this different stuff, you know. Again, it's all fake, but in my mind and in science fiction kind of makes sense. And then the sequel trilogy just like, don't care. We're just going to do light speed wherever we want.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. So that's not, but I did write down because when Han says that in 1, I'm just like, it's right there in black and white. Light speed is not to be trifled with. Like, it is a dangerous place. So
yeah, I mean, I don't get super, I mean, I don't like the sequel trilogy, but I don't get fired up about it because I don't have to watch it. I mean, nobody's holding me hostage to watch them. I mean, I watched them in this sort of fruitless hope that they would improve, and they really didn't.
So again, I'm just my theory to make the sequel trilogy a little bit more interesting, a little bit better, right? One small change, and also, one small change to the sequel trilogy, one small change to the prequel trilogy. What will make them better? Sequel trilogy first, since I started with that, is in The Last Jedi when Kylo Ren offers Rey to join him. Is instead of her saying no, like we all know she's going to do, she says yes. And then Rise of Skywalker is the entire movie is about Luke trying to redeem one or both of his fallen Padawans. You know, so much more interesting. And again, that's the bold choice. We all know she's going to say no because she's the hero. But what if she? But what if she says yes?
Yeah.
Kylo Ren's the only one who's been like offering to train her and like helping her out because Luke has been kind of a jerk to her the entire time. Like, I can understand why she would do that. Anyways, for the prequels, they didn't really have a Han Solo character.
We've had this conversation.
Yeah, I know, but our listeners haven't.
Yeah.
But Kenobi kind of turns into him a little bit in 2 and 3. But if you make Anakin the lovable scoundrel, and make me love him as Anakin, changes my entire feeling about these movies, because the entire time I just want him to.
Yeah, then his fall is devastating.
Because now I'm like invested in him as Anakin, where now I'm just like, I just kind of want you to become Darth Vader.
Yeah.
You know?
And if they could have opened, I didn't need to see him as a kid. I think if you would have had the first one where he's like a just preteen maybe, or 12 or 13 or something, and then go on from there. Yeah.
So there was I don't know who it was, but some guy wrote a draft script after Phantom Menace came out, and there was kind of like black backlash. He wrote a draft of what he would call, episode 1, and it was the same thing. It started off Anakin's in his teens. He's basically a street rat on Alderaan instead of Tatooine, right? And so he's dealt most of his life living on his own, having to do all these things, and which is why he's a good pilot, why he's all this other good, these things. He's had to learn all these skills, and then he kind of gets into the Jedi. And so it's a lot of where his frustration, his anger comes from, because he's been abandoned. So I don't know. It was only like a quick treatment of like the first maybe 30 minutes of the movie, but I was enthralled. I was more interested in watching and reading that script than I was in actually watching the movie at the time.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, if you're the guy who wrote that and listened to it, I can't find it anymore. Shoot it my way because I'd like to read it again
Disney
and see if it
probably
still holds
it.
up.
Somebody
30
probably
years
pulled
later,
it.
20 years
Cease and
later.
desist.
Yeah.
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 Once the mouse gets a hold of it,
yeah.
They don't mess around. Like,
yeah.
There's no patience there for
none whatsoever.
No, they just as far as I'm concerned, Disney just ruins what they touch now as far as acquisition. They remind me they're like the EA Sports of, or not EA Games of,
EA Games, yeah.
Of
they're more worried
studios.
about their money than they are about anything. So when we talked about what Mandalorian season 3, or I forget when we discussed it, but maybe we didn't even discuss on the pod. I don't remember, but like basically,
yeah, we did Mando season 3. Yeah,
Grogu wasn't supposed to come back.
No,
but we're pretty sure that Disney was like, no, we want to sell more merch. Got to bring him back.
Like.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like. Yeah, to retcon your own narrative.
Yeah, that's how I.
And now they've even rebranded it. Now it's not the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
the movie's going to be the Mandalorian
and Grogu. Yeah,
and it makes no sense. This tiny little Yoda thing, and he's got Beskar armor on.
Yeah,
it's just.
And I'm also frustrated a little bit of like seeing some of the properties that I grew up with, either playing the video games or reading the books kind of being used, but used improperly and not great. The Dark Troopers in season 2 of The Mandalorian were fine. It's from a video game and like it was good, but the whole Ahsoka series is very much like Heir to the Empire, just being kind of, we're going to just pull parts on it and make our own and make Ahsoka the main character. And I'm not here for it, but
right.
Yeah. Anyways, but original trilogy still holds up, still fantastic as we dump on a lot of the other properties.
And we've talked about it before too, because we've talked a lot of Star Wars properties on, or a decent amount, Andor season 1, 2, Mandalorian season 3. Everybody's got their own kind of generation of Star Wars content. And that was Disney's challenge with this stuff, is they don't just have one defined audience anymore for creating Star Wars content. It's really splintered off now to about 3. So as long as, my thinking in that is, if you're going to make something, don't try to make it for 2 or 3 of these audiences. Then it just gets muddied and no one's happy, right? Be very intentional and make it for us old fogey OT crowd, make that stuff, then make for the prequel trilogy. I've got some coworkers or former coworkers that were more prequel trilogy, favorite entry was like episode 3, make stuff for them. And then you do have people that actually like the sequel trilogy. I like aspects of the sequel trilogy. Visually, I think they're awesome, but I don't care.
Force Awakens is fun to watch. I mean, it's basically A New Hope just redone,
It is, but visually it's quite a bit of fun to watch. I mean, I did see that thing recently with Hamill where he, was expressed his kind of disappointment that there was never a Luke, Han, Leia moment in any of the sequel trilogy, and J.J. Abrams kind of took him inside and just like, hey, it's not. Why don't we have this scene for 30 seconds? Just kind of get the gang back together. Just like, it's not Luke's story anymore, and it's like, what a cop out. Like, what a cop out.
When you spend so much time building her into a Skywalker, I'm sorry, like at the end, in Rise of Skywalker, when she's basically, I'm Rey Skywalker, I'm like, it still is. It's still the Skywalker story.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But no, I think the original trilogy still works so well. It's just how basic the story is. And by basic, I mean like the base levels of what makes a good story, like the hero's journey of those kind of things. Where Campbell. I think, where the other ones kind of delve away from that. I can totally get some of the political aspects of the prequel series, doing, understanding of why you had to get into the mud of to see the fall of this empire, not empire, but the Republic, and how it turns into an empire. I just don't think it was done super well. And I think we've discussed this of that, Lucas just didn't have we had a bunch of yes men around him and no one who would actually challenge him, because who's going to challenge George Lucas on what makes good Star Wars? It's hard. It's hard to do. The guy who created it, and you're going to tell him what Star Wars is. But the problem is that point had gotten larger than him. There have been books and comics and role-playing games.
Yeah, you were over
video
two
games.
decades removed from the original film.
Yeah.
And now it's worth billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're gonna tell him no?
Yeah.
And he's built ILM and he's built Skywalker Sound, and you're at the ranch and you're working alongside him doing character designs and story points, and you're gonna tell him no? And see, I didn't think that way when I was in like high school and college and the prequel trilogy was coming out. I was just whining about, oh, these aren't very good, or they could be so much better. And it's like, now I'm like, you're really going to sit up there as an employee at Lucasfilm and tell this guy this sucks?
Yeah. that, hey, you don't get your creation. This is not what your creation's about.
No.
I
get it. I get why they were made the way they were made. And yeah, those 3 movies are probably more his unfiltered vision than anything we've ever had. Good, bad, and the good, the bad, and the ugly.
The technology worked for what he was looking for. Was good enough to do scenes how he wanted, instead of having to rely on models or
there's still there's still quite a bit of model work even in the last 2 prequels. I was surprised to find out how much model work was still in those. I was like, okay, that I don't know why. I think it's because they shot them with those HD cameras. They're just like, the whole aesthetic's lost. But
well, I can definitely tell you, like, wow, this is a Star Wars like entire series conversation. Not just,
you knew that it was gonna go that way.
It was gonna go there, but like I look at something like the space battle in Jedi. I love the space battle in Jedi. Like, it feels like so good with all the fighters everywhere and with the capital ships, even when they get in super like point blank range and close. There's something about it that feels real and weighty. I mean, I'm sure because they're probably models and not CGI, but then you fast forward to Revenge of the Sith, like that opening sequence when they're above Coruscant. Like, that battle means nothing to me. Like, I'm watching, I'm going, this is not even good. Like, I'm not happy with this at all. Like, it just feels CGI. Like, it doesn't, there's no weight to it. There's nothing that's really, like, there's too much happening. It's just like, okay, all right, can we move along? It's kind of like how I feel about a lot of the Marvel films now, where it's like the boring parts are the action sequences. Like, just give me to the next dialogue location. And that's kind of how I feel about the space battles in Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, it's not even interesting anymore. Like, just move me along to whatever.
Too much. They're almost too busy.
Yeah.
There's almost too much in frame. So much that you can't even really decipher what you're looking at.
And in Jedi, again, like, I almost have that kind of same, like, not the same feeling, but like, there's almost too much going on, especially when they have the Death Star in the background. You have the Millennium Falcon kind of fly up through all the TIE fighters and interceptors and bombers. Like, there's too much going on, but like, there's a purpose for that. It is shows how the odds are stacked against the Rebel Alliance of that. Like, how overwhelming is the Imperial force? They're not going to win. Like, there's no possible way that you can win this. You've got a Super Star Destroyer, and I don't know even how many regular Star Destroyers out there. And then, wings and wings of TIE fighters and interceptors and bombers. You're just like, there's again, like, a couple of those scenes where just so much going on, but it feels so much more purposeful instead of, let's just cram everything into the scene, just show them how outnumbered they are.
Well, I always love the sense of speed that you get, especially once they start flying in and out of the superstructure of Death Star 2. I was always just so impressed by that motion control camera work to give that sense of speed and kind of good framing to understand like positioning and where these ships are and stuff. And you get the same thing in the asteroid belt kind of flight in Empire with Han is still just an amazing combination of visual effects and John Williams' score for that. This whole sequence is just wonderful. Like, that's got to be up there for me with like film sequences is the asteroid stuff, and then the amazing reveal of where they've actually been hiding is just still gives me a big grin on my face.
The one thing I do have to talk about is John Williams' scores. Obviously, it's iconic, it's amazing, but also it's kind of brilliant because most science fiction were definitely, even when we're not until like 2001 really weren't orchestral. But 2001 is much more strings and lower, and obviously uses a lot of older like classical music. But it's fun to just see how big and brass and hopeful the music John Williams plays for a lot of the trilogy. Like a lot of the music is that very big kind of, not happy, but hopeful brass, especially like the Star Wars intro. And it's like a complete change of how science fiction movies have sounded before that. Like it's a kind of a breath of fresh air, and then drastically changes again how science fiction's films afterwards are going to sound. And
well, his pivot from A New Hope to Empire musically is really stunning as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do get more strings in Empire to convey that
less
theming.
hopeful.
Yeah. Oh, much less, much more melancholy, but also romantic. Like there's also that element as well. And that's the other thing with Empire is like, that's the best of romance that we get in the space, the Star Wars space is in Empire in a very like, I don't know. It's hard to describe it. It's just, to me, that film and those handful of interactions that Han and Leia have starting on Hoth and progressing their way, it's not that much screen time. But to me, it's a masterclass in getting two characters to fall for each other.
Yeah.
Because it never feels artificial or forced or even sped up. It feels authentic. Like it feels very relatable as well. Like the tension and the initial rejection and kind of refusal to like really understand how you feel about somebody. It's just, it is masterful. And then obviously mad props to Harrison Ford for going off script.
Insane. But I mean, I love kind of what they've done, because there's a couple great lines between them too, of like even earlier when they're on the ship, and like I think it's when they're on the asteroid, when he's running through and Leia's yelling at him, and Han just goes, "I don't have time to talk in a committee," and she's like, "I'm not a committee," and it's just like they're already bickering, pretty well. Like there's that tension, like that romantic tension that they have, like they're actually getting angry at each other, but they still love each other.
But he's like rubbing her hands. She's like, "Stop it!
Stop!
My hands are dirty. My hands are dirty too."
But
and you get, I guess that's my disappointment with Jedi is I feel like Ford's just freaking mailing it in.
He wanted to die in the first one.
Yeah, there's just a noticeable drop off performance wise for me from the Han I get in the first, and especially in Empire, to how he is in Jedi.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense. Like he's too goofy. Like he's lost his suave. I guess that's what Carbonite does. You just lose your suave nature and just turn into kind of a goofball.
Yeah.
But
he does have one of my favorite lines in Jedi, though, where it's just like, "I don't know, fly casual." Yeah. It's the best. It's the best.
Yeah, their banter's still really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's like, I think he's there on Endor and he's like, "Hey, it's me."
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely, and I also feel like, as much as it makes sense that like they're twins, I do feel like it's kind of a cop out from like, how do I get myself out of this three-way love triangle? And what, they're siblings. Hey, there we go, done, and I'm out.
Yeah.
So,
even though he's like made out with her like a couple times, probably.
Hey, man, he didn't know.
It's like Back to the Future.
Yeah, basically. They still held up. Like it just is great.
Yeah.
Even just the theatrical editions without any of the additional special effects. Pretty much like I can only think like some of the stop motion, like with the AT-ATs and the ATSTs, kind of
and
feels
some of the matte
dated.
lines are kind of problematic sometimes. That was one of those movies that, with every resolution iteration, it's like, man, I think we might have had a sweet spot on VHS or Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Or DVD for these movies, especially VHS. VHS hides so many VFX inadequacies on these, and it did for a lot of movies. a lot of movies like did not benefit from the resolution jump.
Yeah.
On home video. DVD was kind of like probably the sweet spot, honestly. And then everything after that, it's like, yeah, you might want to clean that up. Like if you've got the money and it's worth it to you to sell more discs. But now Blu-ray's like dying a swift death as well.
I will single-handedly keep Blu-ray alive. Keep buying discs, buddy.
I don't know, man. I
don't. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, you already have some of the big players have already stopped.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I'm not just talking about Blu-ray HD. I'm talking about the UHD discs as well as starting to phase out. Yep. They've never wanted us to own this stuff.
And this is a great time for them to do it. Of like, oh, we're just going to put everything on streaming, and then they take it all away.
They do
all the time.
And we're not the only ones to warn you about that. That Christopher Nolan's been a big proponent of that. Of hey, you probably should. If you really like something, you probably should own a physical copy of it because the streamers can just on a whim. He also said that he can't control what they do when they like tweak the colors and saturation and stuff on a streaming presentation for something
or add stuff. Because I think even the Disney streams of the original trilogy special editions are different than the Blu-rays too. I don't know. I don't actually watch the.
That's an opportunity for them to fix stuff though, and then not have to press out like physical copies. So there is an upside to like fixing stuff on the streamer, but
you know how many versions of Star Wars trilogy I own? Like so many.
And you'll buy the next one too.
I probably will buy the next one. As long as the theatrical. No, don't. Because I think even like, if I remember correctly, in Phantom Menace, Yoda was a puppet. And I feel like in one of the Blu-ray or on the Disney Plus streaming one, they changed him into CGI. And like did something. Or I forget, there's something where it like with Yoda is changed.
Phantom Menace is the last time Yoda looked like Yoda.
But
oh well. I do sometimes wish they would take like, this is probably sacrilege for me to say this, but there are times where I do watch like something like Empire with the AT walkers and wish that they would modernize the VFX with the same techniques they used for Rogue One. And make all of the Hoth battle look quality wise look like what visually like what we got with Rogue One.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
It would be. I don't think it would take anything away. I appreciate watching the stop motion quality to the walkers and then the incredible like composite jobs of from inside the cockpit when they wrap the cables around and stuff. But there's another part of me that like loves how great Rogue One looks in that same era of the story or a couple years before, but wants to see that in the original trilogy kind of selfishly. I'm like, just keep tweaking them. If you're going to tweak them, like do it the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, that's like the thing. It's like, don't drastically change things. Just try to make things look a little prettier. You know, like I said, like where the scene in A New Hope where they have them outside of Yavin, like the gas giant or whatever, and you just see all the X-Wings fly up and then they lock S-foils in attack position. Like that makes sense to me. Like you couldn't really have done that on, back in 77. Like do that now. Like that doesn't change anything drastically. It's not Han shooting first or Greedo shooting first. Like Han shot first. I'm sorry. Like that's how it is. Don't that's ugh. And now he says McCluskey or whatever, and like the Disney streaming, like it's just, like no, like literally, there's a whole thing where like Greedo yells something and they say it's McCluskey or whatever, and then shoots at Han, and then Han shoots him. Like just the dumbest things on the planet. Like why? Why are we changing this? It doesn't need to be changed.
And that's gone. I thought for the longest time that went through only like 2 iterations. It's gone like through 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's like, there's so many.
Han shoots first. Greedo shoots first, then they shot at the same time.
Yeah.
Like it just, and it all looks clunky.
Yeah.
Every fix just looks clunkier than the last. It's like, yeah.
Well, Yeah, and apparently, in that one of the behind the scenes, basically, it's talked about like Lucas was never a fan of the Mos Eisley scene. He was, because a lot of the puppets were not finished, and so they were in a like dark room.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that's still one of the best scenes. Like it's still fantastic. The whole thing is amazing. Like well done. Like sometimes I think sometimes the limitations of what you have force you to make more creative decisions that he lost when he just made everything CGI, and he'd do what he wanted. And so you didn't have to come up with creative ways to make things look good or do certain things. And like looking at the Rancor scene, like, that's all, puppet work and stuff like that looks really good, at least in my opinion. But the Gamorrean guard that the Rancor eats, I noticed it this time, I was paying attention, but you don't see the face of the Gamorrean guard. You see the back of the hood, right? And it's because he's eating him like, face first. And so like, but that's a creative way to make the little small miniature look real without having to go into super, detail. Is just, we just face him the other way,
Honestly, the big struggle with a scene like the Rancor wasn't even the stop motion. I think the stop motion of the Rancor is frankly incredible. Like probably some of the best stop motion work for a character model like that's been done. And what gets close is there's like a two-headed kind of monster in Willow that uses the same kind of technique that's done really well too. My challenge with those shots is they don't always get the model and the foreground and the background in the same kind of exposure space. And so one will look kind of washed out. It's like the contrast isn't, so the whole shot doesn't feel cohesive. And they've fixed a lot of those in like subsequent editions. The Rancor comes to mind. The theatrical for that doesn't look as good because like the Rancor was being shot on film at a different exposure setting than like the guards in the foreground or Luke in the foreground. And so it's like Luke either needed darkened, like the frame needed darkened, or the Rancor needed brought back down. And then you could get them lots of movies from the era, from the 70s that used stop motion suffered from this.
Yeah.
Where it just needed an exposure shift on the film for the composite to look like one shot. But because the Rancor itself like is incredible. Oh, it does. It looks so good. Frankly, the Rancor looks better than Ed 209, which was done by this same guy. I think the Rancor moves better than Ed. And
the other thing too is Ed's in a well lit, like office space, where the Rancor's in a dark cave.
Yeah.
So, but fun fact, they actually had originally it was going to be a man in a suit that they were filming to do it, and it looked terrible. And so then they made a miniature, and it was like glorious. So, yeah.
How big was
I had that toy too.
Was that miniature?
That was the best thing
Rancor?
ever. I had the Rancor. Yeah. So the best thing was like I felt the Star Wars like figurines were not the best because they just had the straight arms and straight legs, but the ships were so much better. So I always played with my G.I. Joes with the Star Wars
Nothing
vehicles.
was better than like the
3.5 inch G.I. Joe.
Inch. Yeah.
That thing was the best.
Everything articulated. Yeah.
The G.I. Joes fought that Rancor so many times. I'm going to tell you right now, that thing was constantly trying to take. It was the best. Oh, I loved it. Yeah. I even had, I don't know how, but there's pictures of it in my room. And so it had it in mind. But at one point I had the shuttle Tiderian as like the actual like Lambda shuttle as a toy. Like, and
that was my favorite one.
Yeah.
Oh, I never had. We would house sit for people that had a kid that was probably 5 to 10 years older than me when I was like 4 or 5. And he had some Star Wars toys left over, and I'd play for him when we would house sit for them. But all he had was like Luke's speeder, Luke, and like Vader. And that was it.
Yeah.
There wasn't, I think at one time he probably had way more, but.
Yeah. So I had the AT-AT, the AT-ST, Ewok Village. I still have the AT-AT and the Ewok Village. Not full. They're not in full. I don't have all the pieces for them, but like I still have most of it. And then I have like one or two other things. I have a bunch of the figurines that I ended up collecting, which now are probably not worth what we bought them for. Well, they're probably worth what we bought them for, just because inflation. But
yeah, stuff got pretty valuable.
Yeah,
especially in good condition.
Yeah, none of them are in good condition. I don't have anyone like that in the boxes and stuff.
Yeah, if they would have just made a Star Wars character line in the
G.I. Joe figurine, oh my goodness, yeah. Then yeah,
with the articulation and all that, yeah, that stuff would have been awesome.
Even the 97 re-release that they did, where every single character like hit the gym, like everyone was super buff, like Luke looked like he like, you know, was roided up. Like even those, they didn't have the articulation. So I still have a bunch of those. I actually have Darth Vader. I lucked out. So David Prowse came to Fredericksburg, you know, and to our local Regal Theater, and signed autographs. So I have the 97 and still in the packaging, where David Prowse signed it and said David Prowse is Darth Vader on it. And then I have a Darth Maul that's signed by Ray Park, which is cool. Yeah.
I had a re-release, or not, some sort of new release character from the earlier mid 2000s that was Vader, but it was Vader done when he had just gotten hit by the lightning from the Emperor.
Yeah.
So his face was like sort of translucent. It was a really cool figure. I left it at my parents' place or something, and I think some kid played with it and took it, which is fine.
Well, let's hunt him
That's
down.
fine. But that stuff was kind of interesting. Some of the re-release stuff they did.
Yeah. But like they literally did look like they all hit the gym. Even the stormtroopers, I was like, that's armor. Why is the bicep bulging in your armor, buddy? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
No, the toy line is just legendary.
Oh, and the fact that like he was like, I'll take a lesser fee if you give me the toy rights, and they're like, sure, take it. And like, that was the biggest mistake that Fox ever did.
Yeah,
made millions and millions, so much more than just making the movie. And and obviously the first movie did really well. I mean, it was like $750 million or whatever.
Yeah, Laura's got some of the. We've got two of the sabers that come apart into a couple pieces, like the blade, and then the hilt is in like 2 or 3 pieces. You can actually see what's supposed to be the crystal, the
kyber crystal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They're built a whole lot better than like the one I sent you that that I wouldn't. You can't use those. Those early Kenner are like
the ones that the plastic that
they're brittle. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, they'll break.
Yeah, I don't even know where it is right now.
The stuff they re-released for the prequel trilogy was real durable. You could wail on each other with those. I used to fight my sister with those things. But
I'm sure she loved that.
Yeah, she didn't.
But this trilogy has given me so much joy and so much like content to watch and to read and to go back to. Like I have like planned out, like I'm going through a bunch of different books and I'm going into a new series, but like I have literally on my like reading history of like, okay, I want to go through the original like Bantam Spectra line of books in chronological order, like, and just hit them all again, because I've read them all, and some of I've read, like the Timothy Zahn like Thrawn trilogy I've read almost yearly basically since it came out. So like I love that series. It's my favorite book series of all time. But like I want to go back just because I love this universe so much, and it just feels so fleshed out and well thought, and these movies are the reason behind that. Like there's so much that these movies did to bring us all wonder and joy and just kind of this escape into this universe, a galaxy far, far away and a long time ago. It is a gift. It is. But I'm sure we could wax on for a lot longer. So is there anything else that you want to like directly discuss about this that we haven't touched on yet? No, and we tangented like as per usual. It just ends up being a Star Wars film. Yeah, because of back to kind of when I opened, how much new can we offer, can people offer to the conversation. So it's this is just more of a celebration of the original trilogy. Yeah. And everything it spawned and
continues to inspire. I mean, just the number of filmmakers that we have that were absolutely inspired by sitting in a theater in 77 and then 80. Yeah, it's so special.
And it gave us something as amazing as Andor. So
yeah, it sure did. Sure did.
I gotta tell you, like, I know I said this when I think we talked about Andor season 2, but watching Andor, then Rogue One, then A New Hope really works. Like, it's
right.
Like super dark and serious. Rogue One is this nice kind of, it's dark and serious, but also has a little bit of camp or the not as serious. And then you get into the full, not, camp or adventure film. Like, you go from political thriller to a little bit of political thriller and adventure or, war things to full on adventure. And it's a nice kind of gradual release into the original trilogies.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining this extended conversation on kind of all things Star Wars. And yeah, we love it. And it continues to inspire. And I continue to come back to these films on a annual basis and
same,
probably always will. But yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in this week as we kind of march along in this season of sci-fi. And we definitely weren't going to do this without Star Wars being a centerpiece of science fiction. And we will be back next week with more of Cinema A to B.
But I was going to go into Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.